tonight is to introduce our speaker. And if you want the 15-minute version, get our spring newsletter. It's got a long description. I'm just going to say 4 small words about Joe. First of all, in my mind, Joe is the quintessential American dream. Okay? People who come to this country recognize that you may have to start at the bottom as a stock mover in Indiana Gear Works in Indianapolis. But if you work hard and are really good at what you do, you may end up being president, in Joe's case, president of Aero Gear. And in that role, the leadership you show in producing year after year valued income to the employees who work for that company, that speaks to Joe's leadership and the realization of the American dream. Listening to you talk about what it means to be a student, Joe went to school while working full-time. It took him 10 years to get his industrial engineering degree. He's your role model. He's like the rest of you. He had to do it the hard way. And so for all of you in this room who are doing it the hard way by working and going to school part-time, I really have to applaud you as well. Two final comments, and then we'll bring Joe up here. One is that, he's a successful executive. We didn't give him the award just for that. We've given him the award because in addition to doing that, Joe finds time to work with education. And as a friend of Keith McKee, he's been around for a long time helping the INTM program. I met him a number of years ago, and just more recently, a few years back, there was an iPro with one of Bob Pritzker's companies. And the kids were a little short on pricing knowledge in the international market. They needed some help. Joe comes in and helps the students figure out the pricing information. And when they gave the presentation to Bob Pritzker, I'm sitting in the room thinking, my God, this is good. It was outstanding. And so with the help of leaders like Joe, who value education and helping young people grow, we thank you. It's very helpful to this program. So one of the keys to the program is the industrial sponsors. And finally, my comment is that Joe's in an industry that's really a strategic industry to America. He works with the aerospace industry, and America cannot afford to lose companies like Aero Gear. It's vital to our economy, but it's really strategically important to our nation. And Joe will talk about manufacturing in America, and I appreciate the fact that he is a vocal leader in American manufacturing. Joe, will you please come up.
Wow, after that introduction, I'm almost embarrassed to stand up here and try to make a speech that hopefully will be some value, and in a little while I'm going to address personally the students that are here. Having said that, again, this is a very prestigious award, and I was quite alarmed, or not alarmed, but surprised, and then I became alarmed, and I was told I had to make a speech. But when Will Meyer called me and said, Joe, we're as usual, looking for a leader in industry for our annual meeting, and I said, Will, I don't know. You've had so many, because I know of a lot of the past recipients of the award, and I said, Will, I really don't know anyone who would fill those shoes. And he said, well, how about you? And I said, who, me? And then I realized I was going to have to make a presentation. So having said that, I personally want to thank Dr. Carlson. Thank you very much. And Professor Safran, and of course Professor Meyer. I too have to mention Keith McKee. Keith was someone who I admired, and I just loved to talk to him. And he kept pushing me. He said, Joe, you have the story, you have the drive, you need to help American industry. And so again, I want to thank the late Mr. Keith McKee. My speech tonight is manufacturing in America, and I have to say that manufacturing is far more critical than most people, especially our politicians, really understand the value of manufacturing. Manufacturing is critical, and I repeat, critical to the success of any economy, especially ours. We're having economic problems here, financial problems. I'm going to tell you why we're having these problems and what can be done about it from my humble point of view. Again, manufacturing is vital to the prosperity of any country. Manufacturing, why is manufacturing so important? Well, manufacturing is important because of what is called wealth generation and value added. Value added comes from several sources. Value added generates wealth. Primarily, manufacturing or value added comes from, first off, agriculture. Secondly, it comes from harvesting a country's natural resources, and it comes from mining, things taken out of the ground. Last but not least is manufacturing. Manufacturing provides more jobs and a higher value added than any of the other occupations or tasks that provide wealth generation. Manufacturing, as I said, as itself creates more wealth per product produced and adds more jobs to a country's economy, even more than any other occupation. I'll give you an example. Value added from my company, Aero Gear, Downers Grove, Illinois. We could take a piece of bar stock, which aerospace quality material, $32. You can imagine this being a round piece of bar stock. Costs $32. Costs that much because it's aerospace quality. After some 55 different operations with 55 different people, taking 4 months to manufacture, including the heat treat process, this particular gear sells for $80. So going from $32 to $80, $800, pardon me, I said $80. $800, a little bit difference between 80 and 800. We sell this gear for $800. That's 2,500% increase in value. This happens to be a gear that goes into a jet engine. It has to be cradle to grave. From the raw material has to be serialized all the way through. Different numbers are put on it for the heat treat batches. Again, 55 different people handled this part. That's true value added. Putting it another way, the value that comes from this not only goes to the workers in the factory, it goes to their suppliers, to their vendors. Besides that, it goes beyond the factory floor. It goes to providing work and wages or money for the bankers, for CPAs, for lawyers, for insurance companies, and it sends kids to college. It goes far beyond the factory floor in as much into the local community. The employees go out and they spend money in the local community to the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. While all the time, every transaction is taxed. Every transaction is taxed as money going to the government. You have to have taxes in order to have a government and a community with an infrastructure to satisfy the needs of the people. Putting it this way, and I'm going to read this so I don't leave out a step. Without wealth, there's no business. With no business, there's no profits. With no profits, there's no jobs. With no jobs, there's no taxes. With no taxes, there's no government. With no government, there's no police, fire, educators, complete chaos, no military, and there's no no security net for the elderly and those that are in need. How did the U.S. become an economic superpower? The U.S. became an economic superpower because of, guess what? Manufacturing. We won World War II because of the major, massive capability of the United States to produce warfighting equipment. It's been said by some people that we actually won World War II because we could make tanks and planes faster than they could blow them up or shoot them down. A lot of truth to that. After World War II, the United States was the only company that had any infrastructure left with a strong manufacturing base. The rest of them had been destroyed during the war. What this did was, with this massive manufacturing capability, we began to transfer from manufacturing armament equipment to manufacturing goods to be sold. This brought wealth into the United States because we exported products. Again, we exported goods and we imported wealth. That's what made the United States an economic superpower, was our manufacturing capability. Nothing else. That's what did it.